specifically page 40, because this is where the real story starts. According to the filing, Drake's legal argument completely misunderstands how New York defamation law actually works. Drake's team is arguing that the broader context surrounding the rap battle, including all 6 diss tracks released before Not Like Us, should essentially be ignored when evaluating Kendrick's record. Their position is that many global listeners hearing Not Like Us may not have understood the entire history of the feud, and therefore the song should be judged completely on its own. And here's why that matters so much. Drake is effectively trying to roll back roughly 4 decades of New York defamation precedent and replace it with a much narrower interpretation that courts have not seriously relied on since a 1986 case called Steinhilber. In simple terms, Drake wants the court to pretend none of the buildup happened, no previous diss tracks, no ongoing feud, no escalating exchange, so Kendrick's lyrics can be analyzed without any surrounding context whatsoever. The entire goal behind this strategy is obvious. Drake wants Not Like Us framed as an isolated statement that appeared out of nowhere, instead of the final record in a rapid back-and-forth rap battle. If the context disappears, then his team can argue Kendrick's lyrics should be interpreted as literal factual claims instead of exaggerated battle rap bars. It's definitely a creative legal argument, but it's also incredibly transparent, and UMG is making sure everyone involved in this case understands exactly what Drake is trying to do. And the legal precedent Drake's team is effectively trying to challenge, the Steinhilber case from 1986, is actually important to understand. The case involved a union worker named Louise Steinhilber who crossed a strike line and was then criticized publicly by members of the union. She eventually sued for defamation. The court ruled against her and established a major principle. Statements made during emotionally charged public disputes, especially statements rooted in exaggeration or opinion, are protected speech and generally cannot serve as the basis for defamation claims. The comparison to Drake's current situation is honestly almost perfect. In rap beef, both sides understand the rules going in. Real tensions, real rumors, real frustrations, all of it gets amplified into exaggerated bars and dramatic insults. That's part of the genre itself. Nobody hears a diss track and assumes every lyric is meant to function like sworn courtroom testimony. And that exact understanding, the idea that rap lyrics exist within artistic and hyperbolic expression, is what the Steinhilber precedent protects. Drake is effectively trying to weaken those protections for everyone. And that's the part that should genuinely concern every rapper, every artist, and every person who cares about free expression inside hip-hop. Because Drake isn't just fighting for himself here. If this legal strategy somehow succeeded, it could fundamentally change how future diss tracks and controversial lyrics are treated in court. It would hand powerful individuals and corporations a blueprint for attacking art legally by stripping away the cultural context surrounding it. And honestly, the side of history Drake currently finds himself aligned with should already tell people everything they need to know. Drake publicly claimed this lawsuit was supposedly about protecting artists and helping the culture. But what he's actually attempting to do is weaken the legal framework that protects artists from exactly this kind of censorship and overreach. The hypocrisy here is honestly difficult to overstate. And somehow it gets even worse, because while Drake is pursuing this legal argument in court, there's reportedly another possibility being discussed behind the scenes, and this one is arguably even crazier. UMG included a line in their filing that immediately sparked huge conversations in both legal circles and hip-hop media. They pointed out that Drake's arguments about Kendrick's intentions and state of mind are irrelevant in a case against UMG, and then subtly implied that those arguments would only matter if Drake had sued the actual creator of the song directly, meaning Kendrick Lamar himself. And that single line from UMG has now opened a door many people hoped would remain closed. Because the implication is obvious. UMG is essentially suggesting Drake targeted the wrong party. If he truly believed Not Like Us was defamatory, then logically he should have sued the person who wrote the song, performed it, controlled the publishing, and built the creative vision behind it, Kendrick. And now that the case against UMG appears to be collapsing, discussions about Drake potentially suing Kendrick directly suddenly feel very real. Most people inside hip-hop already suspected Drake wanted to sue Kendrick from the very beginning, but avoided doing it directly because the optics would have been catastrophic. He didn't want to be remembered as the rapper who sued another rapper for winning a battle, so instead he went after the label. But now that UMG has exposed the weakness in his case, and the lawsuit seems headed toward dismissal, that strategy is lawsuits, the long-term effect on artistic freedom inside hip-hop would be massive. Artists already fighting battles around lyrical expression, like Young Thug, would face an even harsher environment moving forward. The legal protections that have historically allowed rap to function through exaggeration, storytelling, and hyperbole would start eroding. And Drake absolutely understands that. He simply doesn't seem to care.
This is what two members of hip-hop's so-called Big Three currently represent. Drake is actively pursuing legal strategies that could weaken protections around rap music itself. Meanwhile, J. Cole is giving interviews suggesting Drake was somehow the victim of an industry conspiracy, while saying almost nothing about the lawsuit threatening artistic freedom for everyone else in the genre. These are the people being framed as leaders of hip-hop right now. And honestly, the culture deserves better. Because hip-hop was created as a form of free expression, a place where people could say uncomfortable things, challenge power structures, and express realities ignored elsewhere. Watching two of the genre's biggest commercial stars reduce it to personal grievance politics, one trying to reinterpret legal protections, the other pushing conspiracy narratives, is genuinely depressing. At the end of the day, people just want great rap music and artists who actually respect what this culture was built on.
And ultimately, the conclusion here feels simple. Drake probably doesn't actually have the courage to sue Kendrick Lamar directly. He understands what discovery would expose. He understands the receipts already exist publicly. And he understands how disastrous that level of exposure could become. So instead, he'll likely continue trying to squeeze whatever leverage he can from the UMG case, appealing decisions, challenging legal standards, burning money on lawyers, instead of taking the one step that would truly force everything into the open. And honestly, that tells you everything about both Drake and this lawsuit. This is the Iceman era, an album that still doesn't exist, a lawsuit that appears to be falling apart, a legal strategy attempting to weaken decades of free speech protections, and a rapper who built his career on hip-hop culture, now actively undermining the protections that helped that culture survive. Keep paying attention, because if Drake eventually does sue Kendrick directly, nobody should pretend they weren't warned. And check out the suggested video to see what Drake did immediately before all of this that somehow made the entire situation even worse.